Welcome to the Wealth Rebel Show. I am your resident Wealth Rebel, Emma Wright, and today I am speaking to another rebellious soul that is Sarah Lloyd. Now, the reason that I wanted Sarah to come on the show is because she fully embodies that rebellious part of us, that creative way of doing things, doing it very different to how society tells us. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps right now, and this is when I know I'm channeling in all the energy from the universe, and it's like saying yes, this conversation really needs to happen. Literally, you're being a game changer in the PR and media world, which I can't wait to dive deeper into. And you're doing it fully. You're doing it fully your way through all the challenges of life. Now we're talking off air a little bit about all the things you do. I can't wait for you to share that nugget with everyone because it's so simple, but it is so beautiful. You're doing it through all the challenges of life. You're showing up fully for yourself whilst wanting to make a really big impact on this beautiful planet that we call Earth. Now, I know you as the spiritual PR guru, but on LinkedIn, you describe yourself as a global PR strategist, brand storyteller, where you are coaching women and C-suite level business owners to really amplify, and I love that word amplify because this is what it's all about, amplify their stories from a place of power. I mean, wow, that's massive. And you're massively leading thought leadership, right? Because you're creating a different narrative in what is quite a different world. And I really want to dive into this because when we were chatting, a week ago about what we wanted to talk on the show, these things were coming up, and I was like, I want to capture all of
We
this
need to
of
talk
the
about
show.
it.
100%. We need to
Always the
talk
way.
about it. And I've got to be super honest with you, because what attracted me to you is the spiritual part,
Mm.
right? Because I could talk to a million people in PR, but your spiritual essence is what attracted me to you. Because this year I went through an almighty spiritual awakening. Like literally, my whole world was like the universe was like, right, this is you're ready to wake up now. And I wanted to connect with you so that I could kind of understand myself better, understand my message, understand the world better, and get my message out there, respecting fully my spiritual part that's kind of showing up constantly, that soul that's wanting me to listen to them. And this massively, massively resonated with me, what you were, everything about you. And that's what attracted me to you, that part of you, that spiritual part of you. So I want the world to know more about you. So, welcome
Oh,
to the Wealth Rebel Show.
thank you for having me. I'm absolutely honoured. And we've been speaking. I think this is what I love about what I've really embraced as in the kind of the spiritual aspect of it. Like you were saying, like being a change maker, being a rebel, you have to embrace the ebbs and the flows. You have to embrace the awakening moments, the high moments, the low moments, all of the things. And I guess one thing that when I look back on my path in PR, and I've been in the business 25 years, and I had a real moment of kind of clarity when I wrote my book, Connecting the Dots, back in, when was it now? I wrote it in 2018/19, and it landed March 2020, at the Mindful Living show where I was doing the PR for. And what opened up there was massive for me at the time. And obviously we were massively going into pandemic time. Was it 2019 or 2020? I can't remember. I blocked out those years effectively.
I think
But
most of us did.
yeah, um so that book landed, I think, ahead of its time. I think this is what I find, like the more we work on human timelines, and there's definitely another timeline happening and kind of developing without us even realizing, I guess. And my story around my spiritual awakening happened when I had my kids. So it wasn't when I gave birth, it was actually after I had um my daughter. She was 2, and I put her back in. I basically was like, oh, I've had this baby. I really want this baby, but I'm going to put her in nursery and I'm going to carry on with my work like nothing's happened. And then I had Amy, and she has been my change maker. She has made me see a whole different path of how things can be done. She's a real well, she came in and shook it all up. Basically, I was on the floor on my knees with postnatal depression with her. I didn't appreciate I also had it with Lucy, but it was almost like this massive splintering occurred. Like there was this old version of me and this new version of me, and I was birthing myself effectively. And I numbed it with my first daughter. I went to the doctors, I took antidepressants, I basically numbed it, drank all of the 3D, if you want to call it that, all of the things that tend to block what's happening to you out. But when Amy came along, there was no chance of that. I couldn't work through it. I couldn't drink through it. I couldn't, there was two of them. They were very small. And I kind of limped through my corporate job at the time. I did the biggest launch of my career when heavily pregnant with Amy. And then Amy came along. I was promoted to the head of global thought leadership for this tech company I was working for. And at the time we were doing this big project around working flexibly, and it was a video conferencing company. So I had this whole big survey done. It's like people want to work flexibly, people want to be working from home, people want to be available for their families. If I'd have just waited a couple of years, we'd have had the pandemic and it kind of did it for me. But it was one of those things, it was one of those opportunities where I look back and think I was ahead of the game there. I knew what was coming, and in that PR position. And then when kind of, I think I had a bit of people will call it, it's a specific kind of condition that you have when you're massively tired, and narcoleptic, something to do with like anyway, I had a massive I guess science would call it a physical like blackout because I was so exhausted. But an angel visited me, and Amy was in bed next to me, and I just remember feeling so frozen. And this angel just arrived, this big grey angel with his massive wings, and he just wrapped his wings around me. And I just remember laying there and then relaxing and being held. And I was like, oh, it doesn't need to be this hard. And I was trying to make it so hard. So Angel came and visited me. My friend, she said, go and see this Reiki master vortex healer, because she helped me with my postnatal depression. The traditional routes weren't working. So I went to see this woman, and that's where I then kind of had this epiphany of, well, do you remember when you were a kid, Sarah, you used to play with imaginary friends and crystals and things like that? Well, you're being called back into that work. You need to go back there. And she cleared some sludgy energy from my physical being. She helped me show why I was feeling the way I was feeling. Turns out it was an ancestral postnatal depression. I carried it through my mum, my nan, we all had it. And it was stopping with me effectively. That's where, it's a cycle breaker. So what I found is there's these things that are happening to me as an individual where I'm breaking cycles in my own lineage, but I'm also helping other people do that by recognizing their cycles and stories and things like that. I feel like I'm waffling. Sorry, it's just kind of coming.
Oh my goodness, you're not waffling. It's absolute magic that you're sharing. And just some of the things that you've shared, I just want to say, it's given me goosebumps because it's a mirror of my experience. And I resonate so much with what you're saying, because my awakening happened this year. My daughter is 3, and you can't ignore an awakening. I think I've always been like you. I've always naturally been ahead of the game. I talked about this on somebody else's podcast. I was talking to Franco Demori on his Superbliminal podcast, and
Amazing.
I was like talking about how I've always intuitively followed things. And like in 2008, I think I was on someone else's podcast where I was saying in 2008, I knew the financial crisis would happen. So I didn't go into a certain type of business. I'm massively intuitive. That part of me was always there, but I was not awake. I was in the game. And I love
Yeah,
how you
same.
called it naturally ahead of the game, because the life that we're in, if we're going to go super spiritual, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and the human experience is the game, right? I believe that's where
Mm.
the Matrix film came from, because it's like it was showing us in order for when we're ready to wake up, because we are naturally, I totally agree, we are naturally shifting onto a different timeline. And those that are waking up are shifting and helping the earth to move into a different level of vibration. And it's because it's all energy. That's all spirituality is. It's energy, and angels are a form of high vibrational energy. And the more that I learn about spirituality, the more it connects with my scientific, nerdy quantum brain as well. And the science is showing that this is not just woo-woo, it is real. And, getting ahead of the game, naturally doing it as such a mirror. I had Harry in 2018. I had a major crisis in 2019, 2020, like where the world was
Yeah.
going. You need to sort of change, but I went back to sleep. I tried to ignore it. And for a really long time, I tried to ignore it. And when I had Rose, I had her in 2021, and I was already doing a business then, but I wasn't living an authentic life. There was things that I had to live. My whole life has changed this year, and I've talked to you a lot about that, right? Where I've
Mm.
changed.
Yeah,
And this year, when my awakening happened, oh my gosh, I couldn't ignore it. It was pain. It was
it
dark
is.
night of the soul. It was laying on a floor at times, literally in pieces as I rebirthed myself. So everything you've said, I was like, until you've been through an awakening, like when you've been through an awakening,
Yeah.
because it's like it is a physical rebirth. And now I feel like I am not the same person that I was 6 months ago. I'm still, I still have parts of me that still make me Emma, the human. My soul doesn't have a name, because soul is just, it's like water,
Yeah.
it's fluidity, it's eternal, it flows throughout the universe, right? But I the Emma that I am now is a completely different person. I've rebirthed, and I'm still early stages, Sarah. I'm really still early stages, because I'm like, it's like you're learning to breathe again. It's like you're learning to be. It's like you're learning who you are, and then that's when your game shifts, because the purpose, the things that you need to be doing, you have to be that cycle breaker. You have to heal all your wounds,
Yeah.
because you're literally the reason that you decided to do this, because not everybody has come here to be a game changer. Not everyone's souls come here to experience that. Some of
No.
us have, because we're here to do different things, and to break cycles, and to heal all the fears, all those traumas. And
Yeah.
wow, what a journey you've been on, and how much of a mirror that is. And I think anyone that goes through a spiritual journey that will be listening to, a lot of my followers are going through awakening. So knowing what you've been through, and that it is painful, and knowing that that is normal, and that actually you might experience things that feel like, I can't. One day I went running and I couldn't physically breathe. And I was like, what is going on? One day I couldn't, my eyes were hurting. So I went and had an eye test, and I went to the doctors. And these are physical symptoms of awakening and ascension, right? Because your body is changing physically. It's upgrading, it's clearing out wounds. And oh, it's just incredible to hear where you've come over the last few years. It's very fast at the
It
minute.
is very fast.
It
Yeah.
didn't used to be. I've spoken
No.
to a lot of spiritual. My soul coach, I now have a soul coach, because I realized when I found her in May, like I was like, oh my goodness, like literally, I need help, because like at the time I felt like I was dying, because I
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
right. And she said, it's the awakening is very, very fast now. It's very, very, you will make decisions like that just to leave a corporate job, to leave a marriage, to leave the old ways of being, to everything will feel like it's crumbling because it has to be reborn. It has to grow and start again from scratch. Maybe not all parts of it. Most of my
Yeah.
business is literally completely transformed in the last 8 months.
Yeah.
Before we came on air, you said
Yeah.
we were going to like set an intention for
Yes.
today, and then we want to do something really fun. We want to pull a card. And you also had a card pop out for you, which I love. I love oracle cards because I really think it helps you to tap into to energy. You always get the message that is right for you. It's like profound. Like the same card will pop up time and time again until you listen
Oh
to it and
yes,
acknowledge
yes.
it,
Had the
right?
tower. I had the tower a lot this year, but yeah, it's so that's second nature now. That's what's really funny. It's like I just always before I have a meeting, I just shuffle the cards and just see what wants to come. What's the message for that meeting? And yeah, it's funny because we didn't even discuss it.
No, we didn't. And then we came on, and straight away I said, "Oh, I thought about this really fun thing. We could draw a card." And you went, "Oh my God, this card just popped out."
Yeah,
And that is
so
showing you.
if you can see it, so
What does it say?
it's from the Light Seers Tarot. It's 21, the world, and I love her because she's got like a rainbow colored dress.
Ah, wow.
So,
21, the
yes,
world.
21. She is the world. And I guess the affirmation that comes with that is I accept this gift of completion. I ascend to new levels of awareness and wholeness. I am love. And I love that because what's really interesting is today is my 10-year anniversary with my husband. So we're in a year of we're in a 10-year cycle. We've just completed our decade. And like just having this conversation with you and having this space. So I'm grateful to you for holding this space today. Is looking back on the 10 years that I've journeyed with my husband. And, 10 years ago, he married someone very different to who you see today. But I'm still me. And, he was always actually the more enlightened one out of the two of us.
It would have been my 10-year anniversary this year,
That's so funny.
but I'm getting divorced. And that was my journey, and this is the thing. Your journey is so different because just because you change doesn't mean that other people don't grow with you or come on the journey with you. I just changed so much that I literally was put into a place that I needed to go into solitude. Actually, I really struggled. Sounds
Yeah.
really, it's funny
It's
because
hard. It's really hard.
people see you are in PR, right? People see you as this person that is out there. When you're going through an awakening, it's you maintain this, this public person that you are because you want to maintain for your clients, for your followers. Behind the scenes, it is a different story a lot of the time, and it's really challenging. So I love your card, the world, I am love. I think that's the intention for, because we were going to
Mm.
say we're going to set an intention to know that we are ascending and we
Yeah.
are here to be game changers. We are here to have a really flipping good life and also launch a venture and get that story out there, which is just where you really bring that beautiful essence and that magic of knowing that we are love. I want to just pull a card from
Mm.
this is the
Well,
stars.
I love Rebecca.
I
Yeah.
love Rebecca. It was the
She set
first.
me on my path. So
Yes,
yeah.
it was the first oracle deck that I got in 2020, at the end of 2023, which is when I was starting to wake up, I think. And it just was, the star seed realizing that there was more to me. I've always felt a bit weird. Why do I feel a bit weird? Why do I not fit in? I'm a bit of a misfit, and I realized it's because I just don't fit in, and that's okay. I'm not going to be a square peg into a round hole. So, given your intention, I am love. Let's see what the deck has for the collective that's listening as a little separate, amazing message. Ah, Beautiful. Activated earth.
Oh, I love that. Ley
Activated
lines.
earth. And it's power places, ley lines. Trust where you are led. Now that is massive because I ascend the world, your card, and we need this earth is being activated right now. Oh, I'm
Mm.
getting goosebumps. It's all the energy coming in, right? We're being activated right now. There are powerful places. I really believe that North Devon is a power place, and that's why I was drawn here. From the age of 7, my soul started being drawn to North Devon constantly,
Mm.
constantly, constantly. And now finally putting roots down in Braunton. And it's like, I'm here to activate Earth here. Trust where you're led. Wow. Ah, so, which really weirdly brings me to trust where you're led, because the first question I wanted to ask you was, what led you to a life in PR, right? What led your journey early on into that world?
So that's interesting because I, I'm going to try and keep it really brief, but my story was it probably started when I was 7. I was given a couple of pounds to go and buy a cookie at the school fete. Came home, ate the cookies, no money. Gave my friends cookies, and my mum was like, "Where's the cookies that I asked you to buy?" I was like, I don't know." Like I just came up with this tall story, which my mum knew was an out and out lie. But she just said, "You've just always had this talent of twisting the truth." And then it started, and then it happened again. I went to school, went to senior school, went to college. Didn't really know what I was doing. I just followed the path of English language. I love storytelling. That's always been my thing. History and English. I've loved the stories that have been told over the years. So they were my two passions. And I did sociology, which was about people, and I did English, and then I sat in front of the careers advisor and she said, "Oh, you'll just be a secretary." And I was like, "Great, amazing, I'll just go off and be a secretary then." And that makes me sad because I think if I'd have listened to her, I wouldn't be where I am now. Um, well, I did listen to her to a point. I ended up being a secretary in the local. So I work in an area where there's big aerospace companies. So I worked for, that was basically the jobs were there. You went and worked for them. There wasn't much else at the time. So I went and worked in their medical department. And I remember again, I had these 3 nurses. I think I'd lost some samples. And one of the nurses, she reminded me of Miss Hardbroom from The Worst Witch. So very tall, thin, like black, like almost purple hair, very pronounced, like Jewish features. And she just turned around and she went, "You should be in PR, You don't half come up with some tall tales." And it was like, that's the second time someone's told me I need to work in storytelling and telling stories and PR. And I didn't know what PR was. So at the time, I think it was around the 90s. Ab Fab was on the telly. Jennifer Saunders, one of my favourite comedians, and I used to watch it and think it was hilarious. And I was like, "Oh, well, that's PR then. What's this PR business?" So I went, and at the time I was looking. Temping was quite hot then, so I was in my 20s. I found a temp job in the PR department of the defence company next door to the other defence company that I was working in. And that's where it started. So I worked in really masculine businesses. So I worked in the press office of a defence company. Then I left there and went and worked for Ernst and Young in their press team. Then I went and worked. Then I decided to come back because that took me to London. And then I came back and worked for an agency, which was deeply in technology. And this is all kind of in alignment with the big .com boom bust, small businesses, startups. Loads of technology companies were just appearing. Mobile phones were relatively new. I mean, I remember promoting Bluetooth. No one had ever heard of Bluetooth. So all of that kind of I was involved in promoting this innovative technology that didn't even exist like 25 years ago, which is scary to think about, actually. And then I moved into, so I was in the agency for 10 years, and then I worked in consumer electronics. So very masculine industries. And then, you know, in the PR department. So I learned everything from the masculine way, processes, getting coverage. Different companies worked in different ways. Some people, it was all about getting the coverage. Some people, it was all about what that coverage meant. And it was really interesting to kind of take all of that information and then create something of my own after my awakening happened. So, you know, going back to my story where I'd had postnatal depression and seeing the energy healer, I started training in Reiki, because basically in that session, Archangel Michael came and said, you need to learn how to manage your energy. That is the one thing you need to do or master before you leave this earth. Manage your energy. So of course I didn't know anything about that either, so I went and researched what Reiki was, energy management was. I found myself a Reiki master. I started training and learning how to work with energy and understanding that everything is energy. And it just like was this massive, whoa, this is amazing. And like when you were just talking, Emma, about the Matrix and stuff like that, I see life as like a computer game. This just kind of goes back to the innovation side. It's like you do one level and then you have to fight the back. You have to get over the bad guy, or you have to confront the you know, whatever it is at the end of that level to get to the next level. And I feel like, you know, you get shown this spiral. I'm getting shivers now, but that like computer game thing, you're always going up, and there's always the same, it's always a similar but same journey that you're on, and there's always something at the end that you have to kind of get through to then move you to the next level. And that's something that I've really embraced in my journey. But I think I had really good grounding, and there was a part of me when I awakened, set up my own business, I was like, I'm going to disregard all that stuff that I learned. And then I had a little moment of, oh no, disregard all that stuff in PR. I'm going to go and be a Reiki master, which I think as well, a lot of people, when they wake up, they think, oh, I must be an energy healer. This is what I need to do. And I did it. I set up a clinic, and, you know, I promoted myself, and no one came. And I was like, hang on a minute, I thought I was supposed to be this great energy healer. Well, that's not working, is it? But what was happening is that the energy healers and the yoga masters and the authors and the fairies and the reverends and the people in the spiritual space were coming to me going, can you help me promote myself? Because no one knows I exist. And that was when the epiphany happened. And I was like, oh shit, I'm here to help people in this space be seen as grounded, real, kind of magical people. Not, I mean, what you were seeing in the PR space, probably about 5 years ago, if you saw the lovely Karen Kay on television, people were taking the piss about talking to spirit and talking to angels and talking to fairies. And actually now you can even hear the language is shifting in the collective, that people are open to manifestation. They're open to speaking to their guides. They're open to listening to their intuition. They're open to the collective. All of these terminologies that people have been talking about over the last, you know, the early healers that were coming to me to be promoted, like working with crystals, working with the land, being called to certain places, is so interesting, because now it's common mainstream knowledge or mainstream language. I mean, you just have to listen to Chris Evans in the morning. You know, he was on TFI Friday at the height of his hedonism, and now he's got moon people on, and it's kind of, this is all becoming much more,
you know, if you listen to Stephen Bartlett's show, well, exactly, right? Like, yeah, he, you know,
it's all there.
It's all there. It's the energy is shifting, and oh my goodness, What a mirror again. Oh my goodness, like it's crazy. I work with like really closely with Archangel Michael, right? He just comes in a lot for me. And when I at the start of this year, I knew what I heard of Reiki, didn't really like connect with it at all. And I've obviously, like you, been in a really masculine area within the wealth industry. And I was keeping that going. I was keeping that going in my new business, and it was this year that I started to intuitively go to a Reiki master. I just intuitively, no one like kind of told me to do it. I just started working with a lady called Sam Hardwick in North Devon in Barnstaple, and I started getting energy healing before my awakening, and I started having Reiki, and like I just know that it was my journey, right? And it's so weird what you've said. It's like, oh my goodness, this is what happens on this
It's
journey.
not uncommon though. It is like,
Synchronicities are here to give you a message. Don't
mm,
ignore when you think it's like a mirror, when you think it's like deja vu. And this is why I want to talk about my mirror to you, because I want people
mm,
to see how profound it is. We just having this conversation, and this happens every single day for me right now, where there's a mirror put in front
I
of me, and
love
I'm like,
that.
okay, universe, there's the mirror again. And so this year, when I had this awakening and I found my soul coach, and I found her on YouTube, because I was like, what the flip is happening to me? I don't know what's happening to me. I was already having Reiki. I started working with her as a soul coach, and she was an awakenings coach. And I
Mm,
didn't even know what awakenings was. In January, I then booked to go on a retreat called the Awakened Woman's Retreat. And it was Stephen Bartlett's girlfriend, Mel, who's amazing. And I found her sort of through him, through his podcast, and then through someone told me, oh, do you know Mel does Bali breathwork in Shoreditch? And then I found her retreat and intuitively booked that before I even found Cab. And I didn't know that I was going for an awakening. Her retreat was called Awakened Woman, right? Which I went on in September, like, and it blew my mind. So when I met Kat, I started working on my awakening, and she was like, and I talk about the fact that I felt like she saved me in that moment of hitting the floor and everything crumbling and feeling like I just didn't know who I was. I would wake up in the morning, I didn't even know how to brush my teeth some days. It was
yeah.
like, it's like I literally was like, what do I do now? My brain wasn't working. Some people would say you've gone through trauma, you haven't struggling with PTSD. I've had trauma in the past. Okay, when my son was born at 6 years old, we nearly died. In 2019, I had a really major trauma in 2020 that where I was unable to work, and I've experienced traumas. This was when I woke up one day and I was going for an awakening, and there was no trauma, if you like. It was an awakening. And
Yeah.
and when I started working with Kat Summers in that moment, she taught quantum healing. And she said, Em, you need to self-heal. And I started doing her quantum healing course, and I was drawn deeper into quantum energy management, right?
Mm,
Because we
mm,
all need to manage our own energy. And
yes.
I had an epiphany when I came back from the retreat, and I was doing my self healing only 8 weeks ago of what I came here to do. And I've just set up a practice where I'm going to be doing my wealth coaching, which I'm going to call my wealth business, and in person in North Devon alongside Swedish massage and Reiki
Mm,
to help people to heal, because I know that these hands were here. And I've been having a dream my whole life about being a masseuse, and I didn't know why. It's been a
yeah.
big part of my dream. It's been a big part of my visions. And so I'm like, I'm not changing completely what I do, because I still have my wealth coaching. Because for me, that's the yang energy. That's the
Yeah.
doing, that's the masculine. You know, we all have the masculine and feminine, and that's why you went into that world, right? To bring the feminine into a very masculine area. That's what I felt I did in the well industry as well. And now these beautiful masculine energies as well are coming in and realizing we all have 50% masculine and feminine energy. And what was
Yeah.
missing in my business was the healing aspect, the feminine, the being with your body, the massage, the pleasure, the Reiki. And so I've created this in-person business in North Devon, which launches on the 1st of November. Like, my
Exciting.
first day is the 5th, which is like bonfire night. And then my birthday is the 13th of November. And I'm like, this is all divine timing. 11/11 portal will be right as I launch my business. And I'm just like, there's no coincidences with all of the timings of how you end up finding your tribe.
Yeah.
You did that by setting up your practice, and then you realized actually that's why, and that was the question, how big you came a spiritual PR is because you intuitively followed a journey. You did self-healing. Yes, we all haven't come here to be necessarily hands-on healers.
Yeah.
You have that
Exactly.
magic, right? You are attuned to Reiki. It doesn't go away, right?
No.
But you are doing your magic now within that community. I too, the two people that came for my Reiki sessions to test it out as I got my accreditation were Reiki masters, and they said, your hands are on fire. And I'm like, and the pleasure that I experience when I'm giving massage, that I experience when I'm massaging people in Swedish massage is just incredible. And I just know that this is what I came here to do, and I will bloody make it work. It's a massive risk having a physical, because I'm going to be in a physical location in town, at my friend's clinic, the Vitality Clinic in Barnstaple. And I just know this is because I'm in my soul tribe. That's where my roots are. And I will still do my coaching from there as well. So it'll bring it all together. So I just wanted to tell that mirror
Yeah.
story of
Yeah.
your
That's
journey, because I'm just like,
so similar.
oh
So
my
similar.
goodness.
Love that.
Yeah. So that's it. Obviously your journey led you through a very, and one thing that I wanted to touch on is that you were in a really masculine area. But we are, and this is it, we are, and one thing that comes up a lot is like, I get asked a lot, what was it like working with men? It was beautiful actually, because I find that we all embody the toxic doing yang masculine energy because we're too much conditioned to be in the fear, in the mind, thinking that we have to do life and work hard instead of seeing the game. I love how you describe it as the game and the levels. Let's dive deeper into that. Let's dive deeper into your spiritual PR and the game, and how you really help these beautiful fairies and mystics get their energy out there. And whilst you're playing your beautiful game and you're up leveling.
Yeah. It's interesting because over the years, I think where I've evolved, the clients have evolved. And that's one thing that I've noticed. It's funny, like you were saying, I think going back to something you said about being always on and being out there all the time as a PR person. Well, I'm a natural introvert, and I seem to attract other introverts. And I guess the skill that I've developed over the years has been around, one, holding the space while someone shares their deepest, darkest stories, and being able to hold that for them, and then determining whether other people need to hear that deep, dark story because it might educate somebody else, it might inspire somebody else to make a different choice, it might just build community, because like you say with the mirror thing, when people know that they're not alone going through something, that just it just like it calms your nervous system. Your nervous system immediately relaxes because you think, oh shit, it's not just me, I'm not insane, this has happened to other people and they're okay, they're still here. And I think that's where I got to with the PR stuff. And the more people I've worked with over the years, they've had different stories. It's been phenomenal, the things that I used to, that when I first started the business, it was people saying, I speak to aliens, I'm not sure if I want to tell everybody about that because it's a bit weird. And actually working through that with people, I've seen them, I've seen them get over that initial, I don't want to tell people I work with spirit or energy or aliens, because it's perceived to be weird in the mainstream. And then what I've now seen is people just embodying and embracing their true selves. So I get them so far, and maybe they'll share a story on the TV or in the newspaper or whatever, and then they kind of don't need me anymore. It's almost like I kind of birth them through being okay with who they really are. And that's where my PR is more than just getting coverage. It's about making people okay with something that might be holding them back from stepping into their purpose. And when we can come at it from that place of power, when I say power, it's not about, you know, coming on and doing all the jazz hands. It's about being detached from your story. It's looking at that story with detachment, but also without that martyr victim energy attached to it. So I also teach people to say, well, no, we're not in the poor me way. We're telling our story because this happened to me.
100%.
It might be happening to you. And by the way, at the end of that story, you're all right. And I think a lot of people, it's the hero's journey. Everyone wants to know that at the end of the story, at the end of the level, once they've fought their demons, they'll just move on to the next level and it'll be okay. And
Sarah, like what you've just said is incredible, because there's a couple of things, like every time you speak, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to tell you this. Oh my goodness, it's like a mirror. Oh my goodness, because like I did a collective yesterday. I did the story collective in my little mini mastermind, where we unpick the story, but we have to leave the story in the past.
Yeah.
We have to know the
story. You can go back to it, just don't hang out there.
The story is there. We have to detach ourselves. We have to actually detach ourselves from everything, because when we have attachment to anything, we are giving away our power to what's outside of us.
Plus, it's keeping your energy clear, because if you're carrying it all on your back, of course,
and that takes practice.
Yeah, it really
because
does.
We are told to be victims of our story. Oh, woe is me, you know, I went through this at 7 years old. So, you know, my parents split at 7 years old. So that's the way I am today. No, that is a part of my journey. It's you're your own little hero. Good, you know, you are your own guru. You have to be empowered. I just wanted to mention something to you, because when you said about being weird, right? And I think that what you've said is really, really important, because we are, you know, when we think that we're out there in the public eye, people will look at me and go, Emma's got a podcast. She's really confident. When I go and hang out with people, I'm a massive nerd. I'm a massive weirdo. I'm an introvert. I'm not normal. I can't have normal conversations. And what makes me outward in my business is that's because I'm doing my passion, I'm doing my business, and I feel really comfortable talking about like my passion. I'm not talking really about, it's not me, it's my thing that I'm putting out there. It's my mission, and that's okay. So I can go on stage and I can, you know,
you can be detached from it.
I am so detached, because then when I go and I went and did a quiz on Friday with some friends, and I'm really shy in person. I might talk a lot, right? That's nervous energy. That is me feeling completely out of my comfort zone. And I spend a lot of time alone because I'm so in presence in my business. And that's the really important message, to get your message out there, to get your story out there. You can share your story, but your life is your life. You can be private. You don't have to share everything actually as well. You don't have to put all of your things out there. People don't know so much about my private parts of me. You know, I share what is important and relevant to the impact and my mission. And that's why knowing your purpose. And let's dive into that a little bit as well. Like, how do you uncover people's purpose?
Piece. I think as well, there's this buzzword on social media. You see the trends, and it's like, we need to be vulnerable, because then we'll attract people to our content. And it's like,
No,
maybe
that's the
so
victim energy.
that's the victim energy. We don't want to do that. But the other thing as well, like so like you talked about your awakening this year. I've my it's so interesting because about a year ago I had my chart done, and there was this big piece around, there was a massive planetary thing going on in Cancer in my chart this year. And I immediately assumed it was something to do with my business, but it wasn't at all. It was to do with my mum and my feminine line. And mum had a stroke, a like life threatening, like, you know, stroke back in May. And that was my second kind of asteroid into my life that then blew everything apart. And it's so interesting because I think me in my 20s would have made it about me, would have made that whole thing that has happened to my mother about me. And there is an element of that. You know, I am still a little girl inside, and I'm aware of that. And I have two little girls that are impacted by this. But what I see is it made me, one, really just kind of, now it's time to, you know, we're here for a purpose. And mum having that stroke, I think, has removed a lot of the old labels I used to carry around from the lineage in our family line, the victim mentality, the, you know, I can't do this mentality, I don't do enough mentality, to the point where yesterday it was full moon. We talked about this off camera as well, and I know I'm kind of going off with regards to the purpose, but I feel like I need to share this. But the thing is, my purpose in life, I think, one is to be a cycle breaker for my family, for my kids, my girls growing up. I know I've got two leaders that I'm bringing up into this world, and they're two very, very different leaders. They both have a different view on the world. And even that in itself, as a communications, I'm going to put in inverted commas, expert, because I don't think we're ever experts in communications. They've taught me the biggest lesson, that not everybody responds. You can put out a message, but not everybody's going to respond in the way that you think they're going to respond. So you could stand in the middle of the front room and go, put your shoes on. One of them will stand up, put their shoes on. The other one, it's like you've not spoken. So you have to deal with that individual separately. And, you know, that's me as a mum, but it's also me as a social media person, me as a PR person, because what you put out there, how other people respond to that is what is based on what they've dealt with in their lives. It's how they've shown up in their lives. And that's something that, you know, that's something I really teach my clients. It's like, just because you're putting it out on the Daily Mail, it doesn't mean everyone's going to hate what you've got to say. It means that, you know, it's out there, and, you know, there's going to be different responses to whatever you share. So it's being prepared for that. But also, it's where am I going with this? I wanted to tell you about the list that I pulled together. So yesterday it was full moon, and every so often I get these feelings of not enoughness, and they come up around the moon, they come up around my cycle. I'm shifting into menopause now, so the last year I've had, I think it's been a 9-month awakening, rebirth, end of cycle, and then mum had her stroke, and it kind of almost snapped me awake. It's like, come on, get on with it then. And this yesterday was the first time since mum's had her stroke, so that's 4 or 5 months ago, that I felt a little bit of the victim mentality come back. And I was like, but it's a really different vibration. It's really strange, because I used to wallow in it, but now it's like, oh, there's this victim thing coming back. Okay, so let's take some action. So I wrote a list, and the thing that was pissing me off, I'll be honest, was I'd made dinner again. Every single night we make dinner, and I'd made dinner, and I was like, oh, there's always one kid that doesn't like what I've made. And that's a mum, you'll probably realise this too, and any listeners. But there's always one child that likes what I've made, and the other one always says, no, I'm not going to eat it. And it's like, for God's sake, like, seriously. So I came upstairs, and it annoyed me more than usual. Normally I just like, fine, whatever, I can handle it. And I've noticed that that sort of stuff just kind of, it's not my thing. It's hers. She'll eat it eventually, or if she doesn't, she can figure out what she needs to eat. And I wrote this list, like, what do I actually do? And why am I not enough? Why is nothing I do enough? Why is the meal that I prepared never eaten? And I wrote this list, and it's like 365 days in a year. I make dinner and lunch and breakfast 3 to 4 times a day. Maybe I'm a mad person, I don't know. But as a kid, as my kids are young, that's 1,460 meals a year that I've got to think about, that they have got to be healthy, nutritious, like everyone likes. So of course I'm going to get that wrong. But I always deliver. So it's always like, okay, well, I know it sounds really menial, but I think that again is here what I'm here to do is to actually enjoy the human experience, is actually to laugh at the fact, okay, of those 1,460 meals, there's probably about 20% of them I'm not going to get right. And I can cut myself some slack now. But can you imagine if mums and women and people that do those things in the house actually made a list of everything they contribute? They'll soon realize that they are definitely enough. They are definitely doing more than they need to do. And it's like, I mean, there's a whole list underneath it, like kids' parties, haircuts, dental appointments, play dates, hook days, birthdays, Christmas, holidays. And it's like, yes, I do enough. Seriously, like, Sarah, sort yourself out. So the purpose, I guess my purpose, is to show people that they are doing enough, that just as they are is enough. And
You're
even
already enough.
we all need reminders, and anyone on this spiritual path
Yeah.
isn't, you talk about gurus, but I actually think there's always going to be moments where we feel rubbish about ourselves, but I feel like the realization and the moving through that emotion, that feeling, is quicker. If the more you surrender to it, the more you kind of
The
go, okay,
definition
well,
of a guru in
yeah,
Sanskrit is, this is why I love these words, and I love diving deep into like where they come from and the heritage. Guru gu is like the darkness, it's the dark energy, and the ru is the light. And
yeah,
these gurus, that we've experienced in life are showing us the dark and
balancing,
the light. And this is really important on this journey, right? We can't have the light unless we sit in the dark, unless we
yes,
sit inside the fear. And we're so conditioned to run away from fear and avoid the things that make us feel uncomfortable, because and that's a mind way of living, because we're so conditioned to be in the mind that we avoid, because the mind
mm,
is looking for threats. Then it's going to go, okay, if you sit in that fear, that's a threat, because I don't know what's going to happen.
yeah,
You sit in your fear, you face your fears, you do it anyway. You're breaking cycles, right? You're the
yeah,
cycle breaker. You're breaking those cycles, because then you become fearless. And guess what's on the other side of fear? Love.
freedom and
Ah,
love,
exactly. Freedom. It's love. It's like that. It's like the opposite. It's the light. You can't have the light unless you sit in the dark. And you
yeah,
don't not often appreciate with gratitude everything you have until you've been in the darkness, right? And that's what makes you powerful. And that's what shifts you in this beautiful game of life that we are here to experience. When you started out talking about being kind of weird, when I was at an event a couple of weeks ago, at a festival, and on stage, and I took a picture of this, a lady was sharing what the definition of weird is. I want to share this with you. Weird comes from the old roots that include the, I can't read that fully, German scripture meaning to become, to grow.
mm,
So if
mm,
you are weird, that is because you are not here to fit in. And
yeah.
some people
I've
did
always
come
been
here.
weird. As a kid, I was weird, and I owned it as a kid. And then somewhere along the
So
line,
to become and to grow,
yeah,
the weird is the way we we sprout from within, the way we are shaped and styled and aimed at life, the world, into that which we must become if we are to become our true selves. and to embrace our inner weirdness is also our divine connection.
Yeah, I love
Wow.
that.
I mean, oh my goodness, you've always been weird. So have I. And just recently, I feel like as I've stepped into this new phase of my life, my soul tribe is coming in, and I hope they don't mind me saying this on my my new friends in October. And I feel like we're all a group of misfits because we didn't fit in there. So we've come here and now we're all hanging out, and you wouldn't even put us together in a room. It's just like we're so different yet so connected in this
Yeah,
beautiful way of life. And I think that's what you're attracting in your world is these people that in the past were weird because they believe in supernatural,
yeah.
because we are all supernatural eternal beings having this very human experience. So just like I love that. I love that so much. Sorry, I just had to
Just
I
nuts.
just had
I
to finish
think,
that definition.
yeah. Oh no, that weird. Yeah, you're so right with the weirdness. I think say I'm a spiritual PR, but I just basically help weirdos get their story out there.
And because we
You
are
know, and there's
meant to be
nothing.
weird, and
Yeah,
don't
I
change
think,
that.
stay weird. Be, you know, it's like I think why who wants to be the same as everybody else? Like that's what
Yeah.
I say to my girls. It's like just because why do you want to be like everybody else? Yes, because it's easy and comfortable, but
Mm.
if it's hurting you as a person being a sheeple, then you're not, fitting in. Why fit in? Stand out, be different. And that really
Oh,
frustrates me. Like
100%.
I know that the school system teaches people to do that, but I've been pleasantly surprised because I'm bringing this, I'm being very grounded in what I'm sharing because this is the life we are here to live. I
100%.
The reality is yes, I'm a spiritual PR, but last week I was looking at secondary schools and this,
Yeah.
and yesterday I was cleaning my mum's house. These things are here to ground us into
Oh,
reality.
what did we talk about off air? Like, we have all these meals to make. I really now love making dinner. And I'll be like, yeah, granted, I have 50-50 with my kids now. So I'm not always with them. So I don't do 365, but I do still cook all of those meals as I would if they're here or not, because I really enjoy hanging the laundry out. I take my time to listen to the birds and to connect with nature. I do get massively frustrated that if it's raining, nothing's drying and it's going stinky. I'm like, ugh. Like, I still have those human emotions of frustration. And by the way, we have emotions. It's okay to feel angry and pissed off, but don't ignore it. Don't ignore
Yeah,
it.
you
Like,
move through it, it goes quicker.
allow those emotions to rise and allow them to come into and dissipate into the world, and acknowledge what you're experiencing, because that is you facing your fears and it's not locking into your body. And then when you are doing those human experiences, like I play something amazing when I'm making dinner, or I tell Rose when she's come in to say, little baby Rose, she's so cute. She'll come and say, Mummy, come and sit with me whilst you're making dinner. I'm like, darling, I've got to make dinner. And then I'll go, why don't you come and help me? Why don't you come and sit with me? Or why don't you come and talk to me whilst I'm making dinner? And I just like, I'm trying to change the way that I've done things for a lifetime, where I hated making dinner and I hated hanging the laundry out, and I avoided all of these things because it's boring and I'm not here to do these things. I am a wealth manager, right? Ego. I
Yeah,
have fully
mirror,
shedded.
mirror,
I have
mirror.
fully shedded my ego, and I've embraced my weirdness. And I just want to talk about, maybe because the way that I now feel that, yeah, I'm a weirdo, I don't fit in, I'm a misfit, I'm not meant to be here. I asked someone recently, a really important person that came into my life earlier this year, like completely unexpectedly. And I asked him, like, huh, I'm such a weirdo. Why do you want to hang out with me? And he went, because you're interesting. And like, I'm feeling quite emotional right now about this. Sorry. um,
Let it
and
flow.
it's because it was a really important moment in my life where he told me I was interesting. And then I saw myself for the first time
Yeah,
that, yeah, maybe I never felt like I fit in, but you're making me feel like I'm seen for who I
Yes,
am. And in
yes.
that moment, it
Mm.
made me want to be me even more, want to go out there and share these really important messages. And when I'm having those moments of doubt, when I'm at a quiz with people like, and I'm feeling shy, and I'm like, don't change yourself, Em, because remember, you're interesting. And that's what makes you who you are, and that's what makes you stand out. And I think that's why it's so important for people to hear and get their story out there and to embrace what makes them interesting.
Well, sometimes even just being on a podcast with somebody that sees you for who you truly are and who how amazing and magical you are is enough. Maybe that's sometimes that's all it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's coming on a journey and promoting yourself. Sometimes it's just having a conversation with somebody who. So I had a very similar experience during the pandemic. I had a PR membership that I was running, and I wanted to get them all together in person, and I hired some yurts in Glastonbury. I was my old event manager kind of uh panicky version of me surfaced and was like, yes, has everybody got everything that they need and everyone happy? And my friend who has been on a journey with me, we met on our first retreat together, and we're hanging out in Birmingham next month. She just looked at me and she said, Sarah, I see you and we have everything we need right now. So just, and I burst into tears because I needed someone to tell me that it was enough, that, you know, if they needed something, I was given permission to enjoy it. I was given that permission just by that conversation, just by that friend noticing that I just needed the clarification and the permission to now enjoy and relax and just be and stop doing. And it was kind of one of those situations where I'll never forget that. I've had a few kind of moments like that in my life, and I call them sliding door moments, where when somebody has said something that really has been so profound, it's really affected that heart. It's like a stone in a rippling out. Like one was my boss, and my last job, my corporate job. I remember fussing in and going, so I've done all of these things. Now what do I do? And she just said, well, what do you think? And I didn't know the answer. And I think so many, and we talked about this before we even had the podcast. I think so many women don't know the answer to that question because they've never been gifted that opportunity to say, to you know, feedback. What do you think? Well, oh, I don't. I actually stood there and I think I was speechless for the first time in ages and just went, I don't know. And she said, well, why don't you go and have a think about it? And that moment in time just made me realize that my opinion, my insight mattered. Like it wasn't just her telling me what to do and I just did it. Because I think that, again, that's a masculine environment. Here's what you need to do, get it done to your best of your ability. The good girl thing came in as well. Like I want the pat on the head to say I've done a good job. But the fact that she just said, what do you think? What do you think you need to do next? What do you think we need to what do you think needs to happen with that campaign or whatever? I think I was so stunned, I didn't know what to do. And I think that, again, that was another sliding door moment for me. It was like, oh shit, someone actually cares about my opinion.
And that's what you do. And do you know what I was thinking as I'm sat here? You know, you said you're not here to be the healer, or you're not healing in
Well, I
it.
do, but in a different way. I'm
You
not a
do
Reiki
it.
master.
Yeah, well, you are a Reiki. You do Reiki, right? You are
Yes.
attuned to Reiki. You will never lose the Reiki pulse, right? Every time
Yeah.
you touch someone, and this is what I learned, Reiki passes through the eyes once you're attuned. So you are giving Reiki every time you speak to someone. And I think this is important. This is what's coming into me in my channels when we're connecting, you and I, is that you are giving Reiki. When you connect with someone, you are sharing your Reiki pulse and that energy with that person, even if they are Reiki attuned or not, you are still an open channel for Reiki, but you are that space holder. You're a cycle breaker, and you are holding a space for every person that you speak to that comes to you to share their story. It's therapy for them,
Yeah.
right? Because they
Is.
are for the first time sharing their story with someone who's listening
Yeah.
to their story.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to go to a therapist. I'm saying this because I've just started a therapy part, but it is you can when you come to me with well coaching, you're getting therapy because you're being heard. I'm asking you, I'm holding a safe space for you to be heard and share your story about
Yeah.
money. You are holding a safe space for someone to come and share their story and their journey and what makes them magical, what makes them
Yeah.
weird, what makes them interesting. And then they, for the first time, you reflect it back to them exactly in their words, in their
Yeah.
tone of voice. And then you help them to, if they want to, then go out and share it with a magazine or with an article, respond to an article. You know what I love, like how you know, when you work with PR, it's okay, we've had this article come in. Do you want to respond? Do you want to add something to it? Do you have something to say? And often it's like, yeah, I do. Actually, because you're building that confidence
Yeah.
over time, and that you want to be that they then want to be the cycle breakers in what they do because they want to get out their side of the story. They want to get out their point of view because only someone needs to maybe just read a line in a response to something. Someone will connect with you and resonate with you, and then they will come into your world as a healer, as a Reiki master, as a mystic,
And
whatever you
I
do,
think that, I
whatever
mean,
you do.
well, those opportunities that you're just describing, I feel they're more powerful than the double page spread about you, if you know what I mean. I feel like
Yeah,
there's also this shift I feel around if you are if your wisdom and knowledge is part of a bigger feature about with other people sharing wisdom and knowledge,
yeah.
that
Collaboration over
is
competition.
powerful. It's really powerful, especially if you're all sharing different things, but it's about a
Getting
topic that
goosebumps.
you are passionate about. You're getting them.
Oh, it just happens all the time. And that's just the energy coming in to go, yep, that's really important to know because it's a
Yeah.
collective.
Yeah.
And we're so conditioned to compete, right? Especially as
Mm.
women. You know, because masculine energy actually, they're very bro. Come into the bromance,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
very
Yeah. Of
bro.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, let's come together, let's do things together,
Well,
let's.
they're conditioned to be in teams, aren't they? They have to work in
Mhm.
teams. Football, all of the stuff, the things that boys have to do is it's teamwork.
And I love that because for me, a lot of energy that's been coming up recently is the wolf energy, and wolf energy is all about team. And funnily enough, the lady that shared that weird thing, her name is Kate Wolf.
Oh, I
And I
know
was
Kate.
sat, do
Yes.
you? Like I've never met her, and I went after the talk to go and talk to her and her partner, and I was like, I'm really sorry, I'm not a shy person, and I don't normally go to talk to many people, and I sat and had the most profound conversation with her and her partner, and what comes from that is that team essence, men and women. We're not meant to
Together.
be competing, we're a team. But also, the wolf goes off and has independence. The wolf has sovereignty. It knows it's enough. It knows, but it knows it's part of a team. And it's being able to ebb and flow and know
Mm-hmm.
when you need to go off and be alone and know when you need to go off and be with the moon and howl and, and be
Yeah,
with
and
the
I
moon
mean,
energy.
as you're talking about your soul tribe, my soul tribe, I had an unhealthy, and I can call it out now. I had an unhealthy version of friendship as a kid growing up. I thought
Yeah.
my friends, if they valued me, they'd be with me 24/7. That's how friendship worked. We were
Yeah.
like, and if she goes off and plays with someone else, she's not my friend anymore. I had
I
that
had the
real.
exact same
And
feelings.
now I have this beautiful soul tribe that I don't speak to all the time, but
Mhm.
when we get together, it's like we've never been apart. I mean, there's a lot
Yeah.
of WhatsApp podcasts that go on, and I know that they're always there. Like, I have some beautiful friends around, all in sacred sites as well, interestingly. They all live in different parts of the country. I met them all,
Yeah.
that we all came together around the pandemic because everything was online. And then we met in person, and we come together and we go apart, and we're always checking in on each other. I feel them in my heart all the time,
And that's
but I
quantum
don't have,
entanglement.
yeah,
That's real science nerdy stuff. When you
yeah,
connect with someone on a heart level, because it's a soul connection,
yeah,
you and then you come together in this life, it's quantum entanglement. It's like, okay, I can't forget this person, but I don't have to be with them because we know that we are connected, and then we will come together when our souls decide when we need to be together, we'll come together or we'll be there for each other. It's like when you go through that experience of um, you know, recently I was just like, I need to start running. And then all of a sudden, there was a group of people that were going to start running on a different day, on a Sunday. And I was like, and they said, do I want to come and join this thing? And I was thinking about it the day before, and then there it came in. And I was like, and I didn't have to go looking for it.
yeah,
It just flowed in. It's like those sliding door moments of when you notice things as well. And you start to notice the doors and the sliding and that just incredible universe working for you,
yes.
that you realize that this is a universal energy. Your soul mapped out your life before you came here, right?
Mm.
It knows the game that you're going to play. We just need to trust the game that we're on and stop trying
And
to control it and
yeah,
just be. You wrote that. I'm learning to just be, to
yeah.
just
Trust is
be
trust
in the
is the
game.
massive lesson. Yeah, it's that the trust has been my biggest. I mean, this last year, I went to Glastonbury Festival last year, and I was part of the media team, and that was just a profound healing experience for me. Anyway, it was a real, like, this is how you work in a team. It was the wolf analogy, and all of the things it came up, and I was getting this message, I need to buy camper van, and I did. And then as a result of buying Harry my camper van,
Carrie,
all
I
my
love
clients,
that.
well, all my clients fell away, all the money fell away. I was like, I've got this van but no money, like literally no money. And that's where the exercise around, am I doing enough, I was doing that at the time. I'm like, I'm doing all these things, I'm being a parent, I'm being the primary caregiver, I'm looking after the home, all of those things. I really had to square that away in my head, because like you were saying, you're like mirroring back to you now. The whole thing, I'd equated my enoughness with money, with what I was able to bring to the table,
Mhm.
and in physical cash money. But actually, what I bought was experience, freedom through Harry. I was able to be there for the kids all through the summer. I was able to work when it suited, when it worked, when the money flowed in when I needed it. I was never short. Every time I needed some money, it would arrive. And that in itself was a massive, massive lesson in trust, because I was like, oh my God, I was on the phone to my accountant, who just kept saying, just breathe, it will be fine, it will be okay. And it was like, oh my God, I've never been in this situation before. My root chakra was on fire. It was just like, I've never had to hand it all over and just trust. And that lasted up until mum had her stroke. And at the time, earlier on, before this year, I'd redone my CV, I was applying for real jobs, and I was like, well, this is what maybe this is it. Maybe I've had my fun, and my business has served its purpose, and now I need to go back into full-time employment because my kids are older. And then mum happened, and it was like, that's the gift. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm flexible. That's why I have to have deep trust. That's why my business effectively disappeared. I disappeared because I needed to
Because you
find
needed
that.
that space. I'm
Yeah,
mirroring
I did.
you on every
Yeah,
level. This happened to
yeah,
me. I was
yeah,
like, I need to go and get a job, don't I? because everything's crumbling. I now live in a rental alone. I've got 2 children. Get real. But then I
Yeah.
was like, if I didn't have this space, I could not have done this, this, and this. And now it's coming back in. Now
Yeah.
it's rebuilding. Now it's rebirthing. And if I hadn't have had that space and let, this year of like literally things crumbling away in the way that they had, exactly as it's happened for you in different ways. And what happened with your mom is like, again, I think it's happening in a way, and I know that it's hard,
Oh, I
and
journaled.
it's been,
It's her karma. There's something that she needs to do something over there with the family
but it's
constellation.
showing you things as well, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
everything's
it's
happening
massive.
for you in your reality. This is all
Yeah,
happening to show you something in
yeah.
that moment, to stop you going back into something that you don't want to go in. It's like, no, the universe is keeping you on your path. And that's really, really important. And what's really funny is when I came back from this event where I met Kate Wolf, and all of these weird things came up, and I met a guy that had a coffee shop van called Phoenix, and he literally he lived up north, but he grew up
Phoenix. Yeah.
on in Braunton, right where I lived, and it was mental. And I was just like, okay. And there was other synchronicities he had as well to do with my awakening, and that I haven't shared with anyone, and I will not share with anyone because it is a sacred journey. But I came away going, I need a camper van. I need a camper van because if the SH1T hits the van, at least Harry, me, and Rose can sleep in the camper van, right? Because all we need is ourselves. And
Mm.
this is partly, that was the fear coming in, but I do think at the minute my car, early in this year when I left my husband, and I slept on my mum's bedroom floor, everything was in my car, and it was a dark moment. It was a dark moment, and I loved the car because it's a piece of crap, but it's serving me good. It's my wheels, it's my Batemobile, but it needs to be a camper van. And what you've just said about Carrie is like, again, it's coming up again. It's noticing the synchronicities and the symbols and the mirrors and the things that's what I'm
Mm.
working towards is my camper van. And when I get certain things that move forwards in my life, as I unravel from my marriage, and I get my hands on things that I need to get my hands on, I'm going to buy a camper van. I'm going to
Yeah.
replace the little tin can on the driveway with a carry the camper van.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think I need to name it something that's going to be really meaningful for my journey as well, right? We have literally filled this time. I just want
Sorry.
to ask you one
Oh,
question. I want to just ask you one really quick question. Obviously, we'll be able to find you. You're going to add your links. I will add the
yeah.
links in the show notes on the podcast and on YouTube, so people will be able to find you. But one final nugget of what does wealth mean to you, my love?
Well, it doesn't mean money anymore. It means freedom. I feel like wealth is everywhere. It's energy. It's the experience that we're living in. It's everything. It's like I have such a rich life, and my bank account isn't. I'm not a six-figure person anymore. I'm not anymore. And the wealth is Harry the camper van on the drive. The wealth is being able to go and help my mum when she needs it at the drop of a hat. It's being able to pick my children up from school. It's being able to be at every single flipping meeting that the school throws on. It's being able to have time with my husband at a lunchtime, enjoying lunch or whatever. It's enjoying the richness of this human experience, and it's definitely money helps make that better. And I'm not, but I know it comes when I need it, when I ask for it, when I manifest it. So wealth is not all about the money, it's about everything else.
One thing what came in then when you said that is that we will be given rewards in this life in ways that we do not expect it, because it's not about the money. It might be that experience where you just meet someone that out of the blue that blows you away, or where you look at the sea and it just fills you with absolute amazing energy, or when you go and sit in the sauna and you have a conversation with someone that you just didn't expect. For me, it's going with the flow of the unexpected, and then
Yeah.
really, really being able to be fully present with all the people that really matter to you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
my love, for coming on the show
Oh, you're
today.
welcome. Thank you for having me. What a powerful conversation.
And yeah,
I loved it. Oh,
long
excellent.
may our wealthy journey last. Namaste.